be on the iPad because I've been trying to get on board with both my computer and the iPad. Finally, this meeting is being recorded, okay. This technical shit is getting me, my brain, I think, is softening and perhaps drying up and blowing away. But I seem to have no mechanical ability whatsoever now, passwords or anything like that. So I can't even see anybody but you. Let me see. Oh, here we are. I'm back. Hi, VJ. I got to thank Vesselina for helping me get in. She called and I was confused. I'm so confused. How are you all? I need something to prop up. Just need to hold the computer. Okay. Has any of you become enlightened since we last talked? All hands.
Now you know no one. So you must be here.
I must be here. You know, I practiced meditation and practice a spiritual path beginning when I was about 25 or 26 years old. That's when I left my job and visited my brother in Arizona. And then lived in the desert for a time with my brother's dog, about a half mile from where he lived. What I got to know is I went there in the wintertime. And what I learned in Tucson was how fucking hot Arizona can be. I didn't know that right away. But I learned. Right now we're touching 90 every now and then, and we'll be up to 115 or 118 in another month. But I have to thank my brother for putting up with me and allowing me to get to Arizona. What I learned, though, is that there's not a fucking thing to learn in Zen. I didn't learn it then. I learned it when I was with Robert, when he would say the world is illusory, it's an illusion. And he'd also say to everybody, you don't exist. You're only an illusion. Well, that's great to know conceptually. But it takes a great deal of searching in oneself and outside in the spiritual teachings to find the real first-hand meaning of what your body means, what the world is, what people are. The way I practiced meditation then was incredibly crappy. I forgot what I did. So almost always meditating that you're taught are methods you borrow from somebody else. They're not really yours when you begin. And until they are yours, your ability to meditate, to find your own emptiness and rest in it, treat it as your cosmic relief space. Because in my case, it allowed me to escape from language and concepts and stories altogether, and to just sit by myself with myself, and to be able to do that hours at a time. But what it's done, I think, to a large extent, it's just reinforced what I had when I was 25. I now have a contempt for logic, contempt for reasoning, an attempt to try to remake myself in any way, because I don't see that as successful possible. What you are trying to do, though, with meditation is to become incredibly sensitive and aware of your body, your mind, the interplay between them. There are so many concepts that were ruined by, I got to admit, concerning concepts that I've been fooled by almost all of them at one point or another from the time I was 5. All these concepts mostly are just social conventions, ways of greeting or paying attention to. And paying attention to nothingness is a heavy task, because how many of us can just stop and go to sleep or just do nothing at the drop of a handkerchief. I was always trying to figure Zen out, what the koans were, how teachings work. What's the goal? What's the self? And that's where problems begin for most of us. Is to explore the nature of our own selves rather than being blinded to it. Jay, you're beginning to look like me. Perfect white beard and the glasses. You could be Robert. But you're not. You look like him. He had a white
Long way to go.
Don't we all? Once you're free of language and the search for meaning, you can just live without all those voices in your head telling you what to do, where to go, or how to do it. Because once you find out what you are and who you are, all searching stops. Now you may still, if you have a job that requires you to think, you'll think. You won't just blind yourself to the capability of thought. But you'll have no need for thoughts. No need to plan, and an ability to join with whatever's happening in the moment in a very relaxed sort of way, in a way that you're so relaxed, rather than taking in only particles of what's going on around you, you can grasp the totality of it. But with no ideas involved, like I'm this or that, or anything else. The reliance on thinking passes. I used to read voraciously, including science fiction, but also about spirituality and other topics. Now I have no need to do that anymore, because I know who and what I am. I directly apprehend it every moment. And this is your goal too, if you're following a traditional spiritual path. But the thing is, it's so easy to miss the point of spirituality, which is to become nothing. You take a look at many of the spiritual teachers that are around. They still talk about becoming enlightened, becoming a doctor. Just about becoming. I see now that the becoming takes care of itself. You don't have to do it. 75 years of becoming just disappeared. And there's amazing freedom when there's nothing pressing you to do anything. Because all of that, your expectations, your wants, your desires, all pass. They go away, leaving you absolutely empty, void. Only now, there's only you, your body, your TV, and that's all you got. Every moment, in a sense, becomes like best meditation practice possible. Because nothing is screwing around with your mind, wanting to do a certain kind of search or go to certain places. In other words, you drop out of everything. You're at rest. And that's the thing that's most, or the biggest discovery, is that you don't have anything to do anymore. No career trajectory, no pot of gold anywhere in the world, no desire to work, but if work comes, you just do the fucking work and grin and bear it. And you become very relaxed. You just want to be by yourself, aware as you are of totally of yourself, your body, the tensions in the body, dryness of your mouth. All of these you're acutely aware of. But there's no nagging sound anywhere of something lurking in the background that was undone. You feel complete, totally complete. You know, just how good you feel after doing a day of housework or any other kind of work and getting it done and doing it well. It's very satisfying. But with enlightenment, the satisfaction is immeasurable because you've completed all tasks that you'll ever be called upon to do. And you just do whatever you have to do in the moment without complaint, or problem of any kind. You're so intimately aware of yourself that really you only want to be left alone with your cats or walking as I used to do back in Los Angeles, around the Self-Realization Fellowship rounds. Has anybody been to the Self-Realization thing in Los Angeles? Either Yogananda's old headquarters or anything like that, but also there's places to walk with a lot of greenery down in the valley between what we called there the valley, which is above United States. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. All that burden of 75 or more years of bullshit is gone. Imagine being fired from a job you never really liked anyway. How happy it would make you. If you didn't have to work, BJ, wouldn't you be happier? What if you didn't have to work at anything the rest of your life? The only thing you had to do was be relaxed and meet everything that comes up without any tension on your part. It becomes like a long train line. Or you're in a passenger car. And the background flies by you. And you just sit and look out the window passively without thinking about it and getting increasingly happy every moment because you're finally feeling your body. You know, I was a psychologist, and there's a lot of psychologist types of practices. That can help you ground yourself into yourself. One of the practices is just being silent, doing nothing, thinking nothing. But I was often removed from that by situations that had come up in everyday life, which drew my attention and got me back into my anxiety. But now I just sort of enjoy, really, really enjoy doing nothing and watch the sky and the trees outside, including the palm tree we have right in front of our front door. Everything is so quiet and peaceful. And when I relax into my body, I am aware of something I was not aware of back then. That's my own. I don't know how to make up a word, because if I make up a word, it'll set you off and try to describe to your own self what I'm saying so you can do it yourself to practice it. But the truth is, I don't know what to do to get enlightened. It just happens. Not as a result of anything you were doing. Although training in stillness and silence always seems to help somewhat in getting to where you're going. Also, you're never hungry anymore. And by that, I don't mean physically hungry, but that too, to an extent. But you're no longer hungry to acquire or to understand. If you're out walking, you want to be able to stop and just sit down. Look around you. You feel yourself. Yourself at rest. Quietness of doing nothing. And from this position, the chaos of the external world leaves you. You see, it's not necessary to live in tension. Even if you haven't had enlightenment. Just realize that all your striving and training are conditioned by our family and by our upbringing that always look for progress. Become wealthier, become happier, become more knowledgeable, have better relationships. And looking good. You don't have to look good anymore. You can become like a bum. And it's really helpful because people let you alone mostly then. Because you don't really engage with them for long, just long enough for their momentary satisfaction. Because I'm at rest. I'm at rest in my body. I'm in rest because I'm not even aware of my mind in this situation. And the mind no longer disturbs me. It says, get up and do something. That's my old conditioning of being an American, striving for happiness or wealth or possessions or good marriage or bad marriage, whatever you want. You don't have to strive for anything anymore because your desires have disappeared. And when the desires disappear, the tension disappears. The tension of living and living in a rather balled up concentration of trembling body, which has all kinds of problems. None of this did I learn as a result of being at Mount Baldy. What I learned there is that meditation is a wonderful thing. And not having to do anything was pretty neat too. Although they made everybody do intense sitting. That's about it. We did all kinds of chores around the Zendo, or the totality of the campus, which is about 7 or 8 acres in the mountains at Mount Baldy. But being up there, elevation a little over 5,000 feet, amongst the mountains and the 100-foot tall trees. And everything is so clean. And you actually are settled down enough to hear the chirping of certain kinds of insects, and the singing of the birds. You can almost say to yourself, thank God I left that life behind me. There was so much strain in it, so much fear, sometimes anger. But they all get swept out of you all the way. Once you learn or absolutely access your own self. Now, what is the self? I don't know what it is, but the meditation I practice was always to progressively feel my body and where the tensions were in my body. Well, my mind was empty. Random thoughts may be there, but they're just passing in the background. My foreground was my own sense of existence, which I wasn't really aware of, that I would verbalize it. Realizing that there were other entities that I could talk to, but I couldn't talk to the trees or the earth or the sky. Talking was left to whoever else was involved. Imagine if one day you could wake up and have nothing to do. You don't have to take out the garbage. You don't have to go to the eye doctor about new glasses. Your whole life is open to you in a new way. The old way of memories and situations and attitudes and busyness and rushing about, creating things or working, has died and left you alone with yourself. And that self is pretty neat. It's your own sense of presence. If just think about it, if you're alone, no demands being made on your attention or anything else, what do? Well, how about trying nothing and just enjoying who and what you are in the present moment? Maybe your cat lays down next to you, just barely touching you, your hips or your legs, circles around a couple of times, lays down, maybe touching your leg, or some of us who are fortunate laying in your lap, and the cat goes to sleep. And you and your cat are in blissful communion. Never have you felt more settled or complete in life as in moments like that. When you're aware of your own sense of presence and what is contained in that sense of presence. First of all, you're aware of your body, either all at once or serially by doing a meditation of various body parts. In the sense you're infinite, just like the scriptures may tell you. Because you understand you pre-exist any concept about the world. And you as emptiness and nothingness pre-exist everything else in your world. And you feel a sudden sense of relief because you've been freed from the obligations of being a human being. And you're free to just live in a very relaxed way. I used to take blood pressure medications, and that was for many years. I used to think about all different kinds of things. Astronomy, interstellar distances, warp drives, politicians. In a sense, you're free from all of these. Whatever bothers you, it's gone. And you're left in peace. But then something weird begins to happen. Not all at once by any means, but gradually. You grow into your newfold sense of existence and self. Your body, your mind, your thoughts, your desires are either gone or they're diminished. Maybe there's only one or two things in your life that bother you. And it's worth it. Human lives mostly revolve around stories. Stories we tell ourselves or what we live by, or stories that we read about or watch on television. But what if stories disappeared? What would you be then? What would you be then, Jay? BJ, what would you be then? You'd be happy. And it's not a happiness in the sense that you've known before, because there's a kind of joy in that of accomplishment and being You're just full of vin and vinegar. But what do you do when the vim is gone? When the vinegar is gone? You're finally allowed to do nothing. And just find out for yourself directly what it's like to be alive. There's almost nobody in the world that's really at rest in themselves, with themselves. Sasaki was. Robert definitely was. But many of the other teachers were just complete assholes. Many of the Indian style teachers more or less accepted the place in the world because it was there, making its presence known to them. And then that's enough. You don't have to do any more than that. Accept it. Accept how your body feels when you're paying attention to it and your mind is quiet. Accept life as it's presented to you. Don't become a political agitator. Don't be seeking answers to mathematical theorems. Doing nothing is extremely powerful because it seems like the pureness of you shines forth when you have nothing to do. Not because you don't have anything to do. You do a lot of things, chores and get coffee and then breakfast and etc. Take the kids to school. Those are tasks you have to do. They're required by your life, the one that you've made yourself into at this point. Every one of you lives in a world, and also a world of thought. But when you start concentrating on the emptiness within your own body and towards a sense of presence that has no need to express itself, when you can do that, now does anybody have any questions? Do nothing except be, just be, doing nothing. You would just exist. And you also have a mind, and you can use that to explore all of your body from the inside, and also the emptiness of your mind. You see that the thoughts that come up, even if they're spiritual, are somewhat distorting. your experience of who you are and what you are. The more you can get rid of these conceptual entanglements, the happier you'll be. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. Wow, what a novel concept that is for some people, including me when it first occurred to me. Nothing to do to get enlightened. Although it does help you to know. You should pay very little attention to the mind and to science and to history. And instead, put that attention, your own sense of presence. Watch it during the day. Watch it at night. To be able to watch your still body with a mind that is no longer grabbed by things you're supposed to do today. But less and less you do during your spiritual practice, the more you deepen, because all of those concepts and ideas you had are gone. They are no longer trapping you in some future existence or future body. Free. I was told that when Robert was dying and he was on his deathbed, the only thing he would say, and he repeated it often, was freedom. 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 It's so sweeping. It blows who you were away. EJ, you're not a person. You're freedom. You become free. But the world will impose tasks for you to do, like getting a job, unless you're wealthy, filing income taxes, avoid being inducted in the army. So you can be alone by yourself and feel the rush of freedom in you and around you everywhere. Does anybody have any questions?
Hi, Edji. I don't have a question, but I have a statement to make. One thing that occurs to me is that one shouldn't make this journey a solemn, serious business, because that's then you are the one who is embarking on the journey, and by being the one who is doing it, you're reinforcing that sense of incarnation, that sense of burden.
Exactly so. Utterly true.
And for me, it's like me as a personality, it's been, and that could be somewhat unique to me, but I'm sure it's not exclusive to me, is that my sense of joy and curiosity, as always, being open to new revelations, new insight, new, just new feelings, new energy. But yeah, that's what fueled me, was like an openness and a faith, like an attraction. Like I would get coming attractions when I meditated or other times, and I knew that this was the direction for me. But again, that could be unique to certain people and not to others. But I'm just saying, yeah. So that's all. I wish I had more clever or other things to say, but that's all that occurred to me. Edji, thank you so much.
Well, as you grow and get more and more enlightened, you'll find out it takes a stick of dynamite to get you to do anything. Because if you don't want to do it, it's hard to convince you that it's necessary. But if you live your life just being aware of your body and the prevailing ideas or tendencies in you as to how to live your life, whether it's to avoid people or to embrace them, all kinds of things. You just change so completely because there's almost nothing about you that's the same as before you got enlightened. You're totally out of it. You're totally out of the human realm, because the human realm is built by reading constantly, many books, and they become progressively more hard to understand, hard to think about. And your mind, it feels like it's been drained. It's not there anymore except to be there and not impose anything on you to do. It's not that the world is unreal. The point is to become just you. And maybe that means hanging around with groups of people, talking. And maybe it's like living off the land, leaving housing behind, leaving your own life behind, leaving your work expertise, whether it's electronics or aerospace or something else, leave it behind. And finding out you have nothing to do except where your nose takes you at the moment. who has something to say.
I keep going back to Robert Adams. I still probably have 1,000 pages to read to go through all the transcripted satsangs, but it doesn't matter where I pick him up. He simply leaves me crumbled by the curb. There is nothing left. There is no ego. There is no one home. How he describes our amness, the exquisite, powerful words, it just, I just, it, to me, it's an invited trip. I mean, I love, as I've said, and I've said it to you before, you brought that the exquisite words of the greatest sages of the 20th century back to the marketplace, and then you brought us to consciousness and God as God manifest, and because it's a gentler message for the West, I think was your words, because Advaita is serious, but still, the way you meld them, and again, your gift, how I can understand how you would have attained with him, because he was exquisite, and you are, to me, exquisite. And I love you. Thank you so much.
No, I'm full of shit.
I know. So am I.
But Robert was the strangest person I ever knew. Very strange. He looked like you, Jay. Balding, wore sunglasses.
Their prescriptions. Not that I can see the monitor.
But he moved very slowly. He did nothing rapidly. His walking was slow. But he walked around the park near his home every day because he knew he needed to have some exercise, walking his dog, Dimitri. And that's where he used to spend a lot of time with Robert, at park. I forget the name of the park. Generic park. Robert had so enormous amount of power, but it wasn't from a powerful, healthy body, because he had Parkinson's and was deteriorating. And apparently he thought there was some part of his brain that was defective and maybe caused the Parkinson's. I don't know whether anybody knows what causes Parkinson's yet. But he was never rushed, always quiet, never, ever raised his voice. Many do strange things which were never explained. Like once or twice a year, we'd go to Satsang. And he'd sit in front, usually in remote quietness. And then when he got time for satsang, he just looked around at everybody in the room. He had no agenda, except there at that time, he was there to teach. And he didn't do it like the academics. They're talking about heaven and earth and Satan being bad or good. For him, his inner life was completely outside of those conceptual worlds of things that are right or wrong and to be done or not done. When we go to lunch together, I was always filled with such energy. But that energy would disappear around Robert as there was a force that was forcing me to shut up and to descend my mind into my body. And by the way, I learned too that sitting in half lotus or full lotus was a whole new world for me. There's nothing to do, nowhere to go. But even though he was that way and spent most of his time, I understand it, looking out a window at his house, at nature. And then coming to satsang twice a week and going to lunch almost every day with one of his students or other so that we had access to him personally. But when you have access to perfect emptiness, what does that leave you doing? You see how full of shit you are compared with Robert. Our lives are all about doing, trying to buy a house, a new car, look for a new job. Always something to do. But what's it like to have all of that washed away from you? You don't have to deal with that stuff anymore. You just have to deal with your own sense of presence, to explore it inside and out, because it extends out of your body some distance. Any other questions? AJ?
Yeah, please do come every Wednesday and Sunday to
Sure.
Satsanga.
The thing is,
I hope
lost-
the digital
lost track.
alarms are working for you.
Okay. I listen and obey. But it really helped that Vesselina called this morning and told me that there was Satsang. Did I know
I'm-
remember about it? And I
I mean,
hadn't
There is nothing to replace Vaseline, but
I need a clock that tells me the day and the date.
oh,
Well, it's
isn't it
turned.
like you have a digital reminder alarms that I sent? One of
Yeah.
them.
What did you say? What did you send?
A digital alarm clock, a big one that would that you could set it different days, different times, reminders,
Hmm.
and it's for the medicine, when to take what, and also any sort of appointments, any sort of reminders.
Hmm.
Karima said she got it. I mean, she received it.
Oh, she didn't send it to me. I'm glad somebody's talking to Karima. Makes her feel she's got something to do. And she's around me all the time. I don't give a shit about anything. And it must be difficult for her to cope with me. But the thing is, she doesn't want to do anything anymore. She's very happy being retired. She's not even out of bed yet, won't be for another 2 hours. So I don't know whether I've affected her negatively or not. But she doesn't argue with me anymore.
And there is nothing left to argue with you.
Yeah, I know. My advantage was, though, my closeness to Robert was possible because I lived in the same city as he was, went to some of his earliest Satsangs, became enamored with him, and just followed him for years, 7 years or something before he died. It helps to have somebody near you. That's like walking death. No thoughts, no desires. Or a cat, yeah. Or a cat. I love you all. Come Wednesday. If I'm not there, call me.
The next one is Sunday.
Oh, I got Sunday to do too.
I thought.
Thank you for the warning. But it's very strange. I don't pay any attention to the passage of time anymore. For the life of me, I can never remember what the day or the date is. I barely know whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, except by how much sunlight comes in the window. Most comes in the morning when it gets direct sun through the large front windows. But most of the time, I have no idea. And it's not a blur. It's just nothing there to be either blurred or clarified. Mauro, do you have a comment? Yes, you. Do you have a question or a comment?
No, no question. I don't know. I don't have any question. No. I enjoy just to stay here.
There's something about you that I perceived is that you're very peaceful. Is that true?
Yeah, now for sure, not always. In this moment I am. But I would like to be all day like this. But I don't. I don't. Now,
Where do you live? Where do you live?
Now I am in Italy.
Where?
Italy.
England?
Italy.
Italy?
Yes.
What the fuck are you doing in Italy?
I was born here.
Oh, I see. That's a good excuse.
Well, part of the year I live in Spain with my wife, that is Laurence. Now I'm here because I need to work. I have a job here.
Doing what?
I work on the beach, cleaning the beach.
That is an admirable job. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
That's
it's very
beautiful.
beautiful. Yeah.
Especially on a cloudy day when the sun isn't beating down on you.
But I work very early in the morning, 5:30, something like this. So I see the sunrise every morning. It's fantastic. This is a moment, another peaceful moment. Very peaceful.
Do you take half an hour off and just sit there and watch the rising sun?
Yeah. Well, half an hour, no, it's too much, but few minutes to see the sun is something.
Who monitors your work?
But I'm lucky because nobody monitor my work, so I just do. I have to clean several beaches, and when I finish, finish. I work with a colleague, and perfect.
How do you clean them? Do you have a machine?
Well, yes, I have to pick up things. I have to empty the trash bin. We go on the beach with a car, of course, and that's it. It's simple work.
I'd like a job like that.
Yeah, me too. To be honest, yes.
You have my envy. You've awoken envy in me.
Yes.
You probably even speak Italian.
Yes, of course. I speak Italian. Of course.
I hope I can fix whatever the little demons are that may be unable to come today, until Vasilina called and at least told me, begin the trip of trying to understand how you get here. Anyway, I really have a deep love for all of you. I know what you're looking for. And I try to tell you in my own way about my own experiences and what I learned from Robert primarily. Three Pillars of Zen is a wonderful book written by Philip Keplo. I was first starting out,
What was the book name?
Pillars of Zen. 3 Pillars of Zen by Philip Keplo. Wonderful book. And so that's why I was practicing spirituality when I first started to do it seriously. And he wouldn't let me join the satsang. So I left. But I talked to him about a year ago. He certainly remembered me, which is strange since he kicked me out. And it's a wonderful introduction to Zen, which is also an introduction to any of the wisdom school practices. But the simplest one you ought to know is forget about meditation, chakras, all the spiritual concepts, and just spend a lot of time submerged into your own self. And from that position of being inside your own body, look around and see how you feel and how far your sense of presence has gone or is going. You don't think, just rest in yourself. And you can't really rest in yourself till you've done it long enough to find yourself. And by finding myself, it's so hard to describe what that is, but it has to do with the energy body that we are and the physical body which we inhabit. And it has nothing to do with the mind. There's nothing to be learned except to leave that stuff alone, leave your mind alone. And just be simply as you can, a simple existence without a lot of stress or work to do. Get to be familiar with and enjoy nothingness. And there's such joy to be had the deeper and deeper you get into your own joy and your own sense of self. And it arises when you arise in the morning, along with consciousness. And you begin to understand, in some ways, there is nothing but consciousness, either as the external world or the internal world. There's only consciousness or awareness, whatever term you want to do. But eventually you'll get to the place where you can feel love for yourself, acceptance of yourself, and acceptance of all those around you. And hopefully you'll go out to an animal shelter and get a cat or dog. Anyway, take care. I love you. And I'll see you Wednesday if I remember.
Sunday.
And Sunday too.
Yeah,
What?
Sunday. This Sunday is closer than next Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you all. Bye-bye. Hang up and hold my iPad at the same time.